Hi, I'm Tiffany Guarnaccia. I'm the CEO of Kite PR, and welcome to this edition of Modern Mentorship. It's the Young Lions edition, and I'm so excited to have Walter Geer here today. He's a guest. He's the Chief Creative Officer for Innovation North America. Walter, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to talk about all things related to mentorship and some of the exciting things that we have coming up around the Young Lions edition, and just have everyone get a chance to know you and your career and where you found inspiration, because not only are you the Chief Creative Officer for Innovation North America, but you're a sport bike racer, you're the co-founder of BlackWeek. You are doing so many things. So when it
Hmm.
comes to your career, and so many young professionals are looking at how can they build experiences
Yeah.
like this. What advice would you start with as they're thinking about mentorship, and what does mentorship mean to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first, thank you for having me. Mentorship to me is both, it's a responsibility and it's also a privilege, right? It's about intentionally creating space for other individuals to thrive, right? Not just really professional, right? But it's also personally. And as someone who, quite frankly, has navigated this creative industry where, a lot of people, quite frankly, just don't look like me, or individuals like me don't have a seat at the table. I see mentorship really as a way to open doors and provide honest perspective, and really to empower the next generation of creatives and individuals, right? Not just to succeed necessarily, but to lead unapologetically, right? So I say, mentorship isn't really about molding an individual into being like me. It's about molding them into their own path, right? And helping them find their own way with their own confidence and courage and clarity.
I love that, and really thinking about, who can you surround yourself with that
Oh,
helps
absolutely.
those experiences. It's such a great perspective. And I think especially coming from you, you're such an inspiration. You mentioned before that as a creative, it's about just touching many things and getting
Yeah.
many different experiences as you're thinking about building your career. So when
Yeah.
you think about that, like how do you find inspiration? Is it from looking outside of the creative industry?
Yeah. I think. A lot of people look at it a different way. Like my thought is really through people, right? It's through people, it's through culture, it's through community, it's through everyday stories that often go unheard, right? And when we start to talk about innovation, God knows, like if you ask a room of 10 people what innovation means, you probably have 10 different answers or version. But I'm really inspired by the tension between what is and what could be. And that's where kind of innovation kind of lies. And it's really about, challenging the work and the space around you, and it's creating work that moves people emotionally, and also moves the industry forward, right? So whether that be through a conversation I have with my 10-year-old daughter, to a huge idea I hear from a young creative on my team, or something I see when I walk down the street, like I am consistently pulling from life to shape ideas that matter. And for me, it always starts from a place of a problem, right? And identifying a problem, right? Because it's always, once you identify that problem, then it's creating a solution around that. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than being able to kind of make something that again can kind of come from an issue you saw and then go out and change the world.
I love that, Walter. And I think it's so important that we remind ourselves to just
Mhm.
continue to look around, especially, in today's business environment. You kind of get like we do, we're constantly on Zoom, we're going from one
Oh
meeting to
yeah.
the next, and just kind of give yourself that space and grace to look around and to take in those perspectives. I think that's also so important for young professionals. And when you think about how everyone's looking to shape their career today, is there like one piece of advice that you would say is the most important for a young
Oh my
professional?
God. One, I can land probably 10 or 15. Uh, I'll get, how about, can I say two?
Yes,
All
go
right,
for
here's two.
it.
So here's two. So I think one of the most valuable lessons I've learned from my mentors is simply leading with authenticity, right? And I tell the story a lot about, a boss that I had and the way he showed up at work, and I was wearing khakis and wingtip shoes, and this guy would roll in sneakers and t-shirts and cuss and drop F-bombs and was incredible, right? And so I say this because, in that moment I learned that wow, I just need to be myself because I'm showing up to work as someone that I'm totally not. And when you can show up as you and only you and be entirely unapologetic, you're able to think outside of a closed box, right? And create with an immense amount of confidence. And I think confidence is everything, right? But, my second one I'd say is that, I learned that you don't have to always take every fight to the street, right? And sometimes the biggest shift in mindsets can actually happen behind closed doors, right? And I think we are in a time now with social media and these platforms that it's so easy to reach people, communicate with people, call people out, et cetera, et cetera. And while I am certainly an advocate of that in those platforms because it's an easy way to reach people, there is something really impactful about being able to silently go behind closed doors to kind of shift minds and perception and create a sense of influence, I'll say.
That's such a good point. And, I want to come back to a piece when you talk about authenticity and just
Mhm.
leading with confidence. And a lot of young professionals that I talk to is they're looking to build those experiences. Sometimes, even we have it, it's a little bit of imposter syndrome. So do you
Oh
have
yeah.
a kind of perspective to share to how to lead with confidence if maybe your confidence on the inside isn't quite there yet?
Yeah. You know, the truth is this, right? It's easier to be overly confident when you're executive or you're the most senior person in a room, right? I mean, it just comes with the space, unfortunately. But I think that confidence also comes from, I mean, it's like confidence isn't always showing up being boastful and this and that. Confidence can come in the most simplest forms, like how you decide to dress when you walk out of the house, right? And not conforming to someone else's space. It's how you speak up when you have the opportunity to speak up, right? And so there's subtle things that you can do again that don't make you feel like confidence is like this ego-filled kind of, thing that you exude to everyone in a room. No, I mean there's confidence can be done in the most subtle of ways. So what I tell folks all the time is just do what feels natural to you. And if you're ever in a space that quite frankly feels like it's not a great fit or you feel like you can't be yourself, there's plenty of other spaces out there that will be acceptive of who you are. So part of it also comes from then choosing the place that's a good fit for you. I saw this very quickly. I'll say I saw this story this woman said, and she talked about owning a snake. And she had a boa constrictor. And we all know boa constrictors can be like 25, 30 feet long. Hers was about a foot long, and she's had it for 3 years. She took it to the vet and said, something's wrong with my snake. Can you tell me what's wrong with my snake? When the vet actually looked at it and did all the tests, he said, okay, well, can you tell me where are you keeping this snake? Where is it? And she's like, oh, it's in a 15-gallon tank in my room. And he said, well, that's the problem. Your tank is 15 gallons. If this snake was in your backyard, it'd be 30 feet by now. So the point I make with that story is understanding that sometimes if you keep yourself in small spaces, you're not going to be able to grow.
That is such a beautiful way to look at it. And it's also about really understanding, you talk about being yourself and being authentic, and
Oh yeah.
then looking for the environment that's right
Oh
for you
yeah.
and really being bold and embracing that along the way. As someone's looking to advance their career, do you have any perspectives to share? And how do they find the right environment as they're thinking about those next opportunities?
That's a really hard one. I mean, sometimes it's in an interview process, and most of the time when we're interviewing with folks, we're not really asking questions of the interviewer, right? Because we're so put in this moment of having to respond and make ourselves look incredible. So I tell people all the time, use that opportunity to ask questions about the space, about their management style, about the rest of the team. Use it as an opportunity to ask, can I speak to what would potentially be my counterpart so I can learn what they're going through in those spaces as well? I'd lastly say that on a first day of a job or any job you go into, like when you walk into a space, it's one of those things you feel immediately, right? It's just like when you walk into a bar, right? You know whether you fit into this space or not. And so you have to take all of these things into account and trust your gut. I always say, go with what your heart tells you and what your gut tells you. And because most of the time, 9 times out of 10, it won't lead you wrong.
I love that. And just to your point of not being afraid to ask questions, like even
Yeah.
coming back to when you're looking at finding the right environment or your next opportunity, ask your mentors, ask your network. There's
Oh,
so
yeah.
much power that you have just by being able to make those connections. And that's
Oh, yeah.
something I've never been afraid to do, is just really lean on others and
Oh, yeah.
help others even from that perspective too. Of course, I have to ask you, Walter, the impact of AI. How should young professionals be thinking about AI today as they're shaping their career?
I mean, look, I tell people all the time, you have to think about AI the same way you think about getting from point A to point B, right? If I told you, hey, I got to meet you downtown at 5 o'clock, well, there's a hell of a lot of ways you can get downtown. You can walk, You can ride a bike, you can get on a train, right? You can get in a car, right? Some of those ways will get you there faster. At the end of the day, you're still going to get from point A to point B. It's just a matter of how quickly you want to get there. So we have to think about AI as in terms of the same thing, right? It's the same process. It's how quickly you want to get to an end result. And it's not like the end all be all for the work. No, like AI doesn't work by itself, right? We need humans to make it feel more human, right? And everything we do should just consist around like human-centered design, right? And if we're doing this, it means we need to add those human elements into everything we do with it to make it feel human and make it drive emotion and impact and listen impact from individuals. So, I often say it is a tool. It's another tool, just so it's the same way as Photoshop is, the same thing that Figma is. It's a tool that allows us to be better at our day-to-day jobs. It's nothing that we should be afraid of, but most certainly everything that we need to take advantage of. I have my 10-year-old daughter now who will literally draw pictures. And I'm right, because over at WPP, we have something called Open, right? And it's a platform that has all these AI tools. She's literally doing prompts to create pictures that she then prints out and then colors, right? And she's 10, right? So again, it's like it can be a tool to use in a multitude of ways that allow us to just move quickly. And I suggest all people get on top of it, right? Because you couldn't even be a designer unless you understand how to use tools like Illustrator, Photoshop, Figma. It just wouldn't work, right? So these are tools that allow us to be better at our jobs.
That is such a good way of looking at it, is how can it be an enabler, not the enemy? And really even thinking about it as it's a part of some of these foundational tools and it's just helping you advance. This is an
Absolutely.
opportunity. It's not a challenge, it's an opportunity that you can create for yourself. It sounds like you're a great dad, by the way. Really encouraging the little ones. I feel like my daughter's even better at some of this stuff than I am, and I'm in the
Yeah.
business of technology. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really helping to shape the next generation. And
Yeah.
the next generation, we're getting ready for the young lions. I'm certainly excited for this year. What are you most excited about when it comes to the young lions this year?
I think that this is a competition that provides a larger or a global stage, right, for young professionals to demonstrate like all of their thinking, their innovative thinking, their problem-solving abilities. My involvement, particularly in the digital category, underscores really my commitment to, as we're talking here, mentoring, right, the next generation of creatives, and that's super exciting to me. And of course, it aligns with my broader dedication to fostering a more open industry, right, and ensuring that we have fresh perspectives and voices that are recognized and celebrated. But beyond all of that, I am always so inspired by just being around younger creatives because these are individuals that are touching technology and culture in a way that just we aren't. I'm a lot older, so it's just inspiring to be around those people that are just picking up on cues. Quite frankly, before we older folks are. So I'm excited to be participating, and I'm super excited to just be in the room and help kind of facilitate the work.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that perspective. I feel so inspired by our conversation today, and I know the rest of the folks listening in will too. Do you have a final piece of advice to offer that next generation of creators?
I think one is always be you, right? Always be you. Never cower down, right? Always walk into every room with your head held high. And I think the last thing I'll give for creatives is, you know, the more senior you get in a creative role, the more your job becomes selling, right? Know and understand how to sell, how to present, how to pitch, and how to talk. That is so critical, right? Because, our jobs as creatives, is to elicit an emotion, make someone feel a particular way. And it's not good enough just to have a kick-ass product or a thing. It's all in how we sell the story around that that really drives and inspires individuals. So those are two I'd land on.
That last piece of advice, Walter, is gold. Thank you so much for sharing. It
Thank
really
you. Oh, thank you for having me.